life.
Reconciliation is not about pretending that things are other than they are. It is a risky undertaking, but in the end, it is worthwhile because in the end, only an honest confrontation with reality can bring real healing. A very good evening. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Face to Face. Today, we explore the path to reconciliation in Sri Lanka, its promises, its setbacks, and the way forward. I'm very pleased to be joined this evening by Vice President of International Affairs and Communications of the Democratic People's Front Tamil Progressive Alliance, Barath Arullsamy, who is, of course, no stranger at all to our programs here on Newsfirst. Good evening, Barath. Thank you very much for making time to join us.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here today.
Barath, now in today's Sri Lanka, we are more than 15 years since the war ended. How would you assess the current state of reconciliation in the country? Do you see genuine progress, or are we stuck in cycles of rhetoric?
To be very precise, it's a very timely question. Reconciliation is not just a mere word, it's action-based results. So we have been discussing reconciliation post-war, but we are in the same stage without taking any turns or, moving forward. Because, when time to time, there is no political will from the political stakeholders to take this forward and to, finish it off once and for all. But unfortunately, we talk about reconciliation in political stages, in parliament, talk shows like this, even in UN or among international actors. But unfortunately, the action or the results are very much minimal. When this lesson learned reconciliation commission report came forward, there were nearly 189 recommendations which were given by them. But unfortunately, I don't see nearly less than 20% has been achieved so far. So, even though the establishment of Truth Commission, whether we are on right track or establishment of missing persons, are we on right track? No, we are not in a right track. Why I say no? Because the remorse or the kind of the emotions tied up with this are, very much at the same. It is not for only Tamil community, but also in the Sinhalese community. In various stages of Sri Lankan political arena, various sectors of people had been, victimized for various reasons, whether it is in 60s or 70s or 90s, up until the recent past, there were a lot of issues which need to be reconciled. But unfortunately, the action towards that is very much minimal.
And also, Barath, now when we speak of reconciliation, the term reconciliation, it can mean different things to different communities. What, in your view, should reconciliation actually involve, especially given that Sri Lanka is a multi-ethnic as well as post-war country?
First and foremost, the political will. Because, when the government of the day come into power, when they are, opposition or a pressure group earlier, the promises or the narrative they make while they are in the opposition, while they are not in the power, are so much different once they come into power. To be very precise, after the civil war, there were a lot of promises made by all the regimes, whether it's be Mahinda Rajapaksa's regime or Maithripala Sirisena's regime or Gotabaya Rajapaksa's regime, or now the NPP Andhra Kumara Dissanayaka's regime. Promises been made, to reconcile and to make everyone as Sri Lankans. But unfortunately, in practicality, the deliverance is very much minimal, and absolute results is not, seen. So as a result, the country's growth is largely affected. When you see our economic dependency or economic growth very much connected with the root cause of communal harmony. If there is a communal dispute among our communities, like unlike in India or other countries, we are not, numerous communities living here. We are like maximum, Sinhalese, Tamils, Muslims, Christians, and Malays, and some minority communities are there. So if we can't have an understanding between our communities, then it is very difficult for us to go forward. So to answer your question, to be very precise, accept the truth and go forward. That is the only way forward. Otherwise, it will be a continuous story for another, decade to talk about.
Just like you mentioned now a short while ago, Barath, there have been successive governments that have launched different initiatives for reconciliation mechanisms like commissions, the reparations officers, truth initiatives. But many of these efforts, just like you said, haven't exactly earned public trust. So how do we, well, first off, walk us through why this is actually the case, why such initiatives have not gained public trust. Where were these initiatives lacking? And also, how can this trust deficit be addressed by the governments?
To be very precise, like on this public trust, it is all about now the victims who are affected by war. Not only the northern people, the southern people also, eastern, everyone has been affected. Yes. Even my community has been affected. But if the government, my own government, lie to me, saying that, okay, you will be delivered like this, but something else popping out, then I will lose the confidence on my government, my state. So from early 60s to today, those who have migrated from Sri Lanka has not migrated in, happiness or, to seek for another better life, or not like that. They all went with deep sorrow, as I have told earlier also. This deep sorrow has been rooted not only with their emotion, but for their generations as well. As you can see, I'm just comparing with our neighbor, the Indian diaspora community. When the Indian diaspora community, diversed in their in respective countries, they share the Indian value to their host countries. But when it comes to Sri Lankan diaspora community, they are very much expressing the anger, towards Sri Lanka and towards the government, towards the president, whoever goes, now it's very much minimal when a state leader of our country goes to another state, the diaspora community, not only Tamils, but I am also referring to everyone, the Sri Lankans, they show a kind of a protest on, not delivering anything. It's not about that individual, but about, the state, how the state is acting towards that. But like to be very frank, to solve this issue, the state must accept the truth and move forward. I'm not saying, pointing finger at one person or a group of person about the Sri Lankan military or, a pressure group or a group. No, I'm not saying that. It is very much evidential. There were some atrocities happen in various stages. So we should accept that. If we don't have the political will to accept that and move forward, then it is a question where the people who migrated from our country will be a kind of a liability for our country, because they will cause harm within or from exteriorly, and also our growth and our reputation among other countries and among our system, our communities, will be very much difficult.
So we now talked about public trust, and just like you mentioned, we talked about all these commissions that have been established regarding reconciliation. But also tell me, Barath, where exactly and why exactly aren't these initiatives as productive as they're supposed to be?
I hope that there will be a deep question about Chemani also. I'll just touch on that. to give a recent example, why Chemmani is become a big issue, why it has been highlighted in various forums. It is because why people are demanding more than Sri Lankan investigation to bring global investigation, some international investigation. Because as your correct question, the trust between the successive governments has been failed drastically. Because unlike now, to be evidential, from 2010 Parliament president election up until 2004 president election, the trend was very much different. The people from north and east and somewhere in central are more towards a kind of a different ideologies than the majority decides. But this time in 2000 the Parliament general election, the entire country voted for the government to having a utmost confidence that this government will be different from the others, their predecessors. But I like in any government, the first year is a very productive year where they can bring some transformative change or introduce something drastic change to the country, where the opposition from different stakeholders will be very minimal. For this government, they had a very good chance in this first year to bring this reconciliation process or establishing harmony between the communities. But unfortunately, for this past 10 months, I personally don't see any attempt by the government to deliver that. As a result, the people will have more doubt on the government, not only this government, the past governments, and also in the future governments. There won't be a kind of a responsibility will be taken. So coming back to the Chemmani, it's not about the death. It's not about this mass grave or something. The people are dead like 25 years back, but the people, the families needs a kind of an accountability, a kind of a truth and a justice for their families. If we can provide that, yes, we can move forward with a progressive thinking. If not, we will be stuck with that social propaganda. He will get offended, these people will get offended, then which will ultimately affect our social growth, as a result our economic growth.
Well, like you very correctly said, there's a great deal of emotional as well as political tension, especially surrounding the matter, Barath, of memorialization and remembrance to this day. How can Sri Lanka move forward towards a national culture of remembrance that respects all the diverse expectations as well as experiences without deepening divisions within the country?
It's a very good question. In recent the memorial events which took place in two regions, one is kind of honoring our forces, and one is remembering the victims of the last stages of war in North. So both of them, if you see as an individual groups, are different, but as you generally see, they are citizens of Sri Lanka. So who we are celebrating of? Are we going to celebrate killing our own citizens? Is a question. So if we are proud enough that killing our own citizens is a big victory, then I think we are in a very deep trouble. If we think, which has happened, the lives are lost, it is time to move forward. Yes, then we are on right track, we can go forward. If not, we will be enslaved in that same propaganda where, the Sinhalese community will think otherwise. If we touch the northern community, think otherwise. Then if this propaganda keeps on growing, then I don't think a possible future will be flourishing for Sri Lanka. It's very, very difficult to know. Every political parties or communities will have their own agenda. They should have. So I now say the forces may say, like, we eliminated terrorism, yeah, which is very good thing. We are also supporting this country should be the one nation which will be enjoyed by all communities in Sri Lanka. So if this partiality from 1956, so I recently happened to see one of the interviews of SWRD Bandaranayake. So he was giving reasons why he introduced Sinhalese only act. Because on his perspective that may be very correct, but he forgot the essence of Sri Lankan identity has been compromised. It's not about empowering one community and isolating another community. It's all about, empowering Sri Lankans as a whole. Now, when we come to the economic, why I touch always economic perspective. If Sri Lanka to be in the right track of growth, this root cause of social injustice to the communities, whether it is group of Sinhalese, whether it's Tamils or Muslims or Christians, it should be, mitigated in a way in which they are satisfied. Yeah, there is a Easter attack. Now, if we are going to politicize the Easter attack, we will never find solutions or answers. If we are going to, yes, provide answers for Christian community who lost their loved ones, their mothers, fathers, their children, then we should, give a answer which they will accept, and the stakeholders who had been contributed this entire mess are being accountable. If not, then this animosity and anger and this vengeance will grow and grow and grow. This will affect our growth as a country as a whole. Then we will, obviously, our neighbors and the countries which were looking up to us, and in return we will look up to them. Well, under our nose they will grow and they will prosper. We will be in the same position.
And also, just like you said, now I want to come back to the Chemmani mass graves, which is being very widely discussed in the country, especially with the discovery of new skeletal remains of humans. Now, the recent findings at the Chemmani mass grave have reopened painful chapters in our country's history. So, in your view, how do such cases like Chemmani affect national reconciliation? Now, we have a common goal in mind. We want to achieve reconciliation somehow. But how do such rediscoveries rather change our course? Does it alter our course in some way? Does it reduce the momentum that we have, particularly in terms of building trust between communities and the state?
Chemmani is not just about bodies and bones.
Yes.
It's a symbol of state, protected a lie towards decades. So it's a symbol where the people will, we can take it in two ways. Either harp on it and still act as unnoticed, or we should act on it and win back the confidence of our people. So this is twofold, simple. Either we are acting on that or just we are ignoring that. I think nearly, it is not a new thing. It is, it's all started in 1998 on a statement by a accused, and also nearly, I think, 80 bodies been exhumed so far. So this is, as I told you, this is not about death. They are died and they are dead already. They are gone. But the families and the communities there are, some may have their political agendas. Let's forget about political agendas. But as a community as a whole, the state, I'm not saying the government of the day, the state, Sri Lankan state, has a responsibility to protect their citizens, to be very open and transparent to their citizens. When you just refer, I don't agree on all actions of President Donald Trump in the recent past, but what he is providing to the American citizen should be put forward. They should be empowered. So likewise, in Sri Lanka, if the government of the day, as a state, if they think, this Chemmani should be, handled in a very, very diplomatic manner, and it should provide accountability and justice, then it should act. So why when the Human Rights High Commissioner Walker visited Chemani, why people demanded an international investigation? To answer your first question, they don't trust the system.
Yes.
So the system has been compromised in a way in which our own citizen doesn't trust the
state system.
So how pathetic that is. So I believe Chemani is a kind of a moment in history to make things right. If we don't as I told you, it's now some may argue it is connected with the LTTE, and in war people die. I have come across those dialogues by many. They said in war people die. They are connected with LTT. They are some. I don't see a 10-year small kid is connected with any organization. But when it comes to these emotions, triggering emotions of the people, it'll further delay our progress. So to provide justice for Chemani, I'm not talking only about Chemani, but also this Surya Kandidasa mass grave. There are other places, which has been, idled for many years. To provide solution, the state must accept the truth. I'm not saying, you should be, court-martialed or punished, punish a soldier. Oh, no, not like that. It is, accept the fact. Yes, there had been an issue. There had been an atrocity. We have to move forward. They are not saying, no, go and hang those people. No, it's not like that. What the people demand is a just and truth. So if the state, I'm not saying the government as a whole, the state, I'm also responsible, you are also responsible, the media houses, the parliament, everyone come together and provide a solution. I don't think this entire reconciliation will be a word to be discussed. It will be a action which has been, promoted for generations. So I really feel very much sorry and sympathy for the families who lost their lives in Chemani grave, and also in the other mass atrocities. And in this month, July is no strange for atrocities, as you are well aware. Our community also in July in '83 we faced a lot of communal clashes. Many lives have been lost, and many properties has been damaged. Many were burnt and killed alive. So we can't forget the history, but we can move forward by learning from the history. So we have learned a lot. Now there is no crash course or long-term course to study. We have learned a lot, and we see in other countries also how they are, coming forward with many progressive transitions period. So we can apply that and move forward. So Chemani is a kind of a symbol of Sri Lanka's reconciliation should be addressed immediately. If Sri Lanka fails to address, then people may require international investigation, which I also, in a point, if the system fail here, we have to depend on others to, but I am not a big fan of someone else coming in poking in the fingers of our affairs. If we are okay, and if we have a system which will hold liability and accountability, yes, it will be a good progress to go forward.
Also, do you have any suggestions on how exactly the government should handle such a sensitive case?
So government cannot handpick which death to be determined.
Definitely.
Right.
All citizens.
Yeah. So, the attention the government gave for Batalanda, making a fuss, and I saw one minister is also crying when he proposed that. No, see, when it comes to politicization, every politician, including myself, will always look for an opportunity to market ourselves. That is the way of politics. You can't deny that. And in Sri Lanka, there is no thing called apolitical. Everything is much connected with political, because politics is part and parcel of Sri Lankan governance and mechanism. If the Sri Lankan political authority fails in decision making, our economy, our livelihood affects. I don't agree with a few people who says, no, I see, I'm not political. Political is very much part of connection. So, as I told you, the government of the day cannot be handpicked which death to be determined, which death to be ignored. Everything is about our citizen. If we are failing to deliver what our citizen aspiring for, then all these international players who wanted to have who are with a false propaganda will take advantage of that. Now I do see, this taking this issue, some may protest, some may do, kind of a anti-campaign, which will affect our country. So I don't want my country to kneel before any other organization or state. We have to have our dignity and ensure our sovereignty. So this is not a kind of a hand-picking or pick and choose exercise, and it should address the root cause. I saw taking some guests, group of people to north people to south. It is not going to solve like that. From the education system, from the pattern of living, we have been living like that up until 1948 or late early 60s. But unfortunately, after this communal mindset ideologies mixed with this politics, then this entire separatism starts. So this separatism should end. I hope this government will provide. As a strong opposition, we are also supporting government to have reconciled process, and we have suggested many things, and we are very much ready to support government in that exercise.
Well, when it comes to the topic of reconciliation in Sri Lanka, the path forward, it's a very vast topic that needs to be deeply delved into. Of course, there are quite a few matters that I need to discuss with Barath, but we'll be heading into a short commercial break now. This is Face to Face.
අකෝස්තු දෙවනිදා සවස 6:30ට අගනුවර මියුසියස් විද්‍යාලය රංගශාලාවේදී ප්‍රවේශපත්‍ර ticketsministry.com.
GDP around $30,000 billions, 30,000, but in Sri Lankan context we are just only 80 billions.
And one of the economic principle also say with the trade everybody better off.
Now, why he has reduced 44 to 30? That's what my point is all about, right? He's not playing kind of a trade game with us.
Now only the government, we are seeing that the provincial council election has completed and the people are appointed, but now only the infrastructure projects are being, the money is being deployed.
Face the Nation every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. on TV1.
Chamatkara, an enchanting night awaits. A tribute to timeless legends, a celebration of melodies that echo through generations. A heartfelt homage to two icons who defined the soundscape of a nation. Victor Ratnayaka and Priya Suryasena. Their songs shaped our stories. Their voices touched our souls.
Join us for a night of unforgettable performances by Nalin Pereira, Samitha Mudunkotua, Sanka Dine, Raini Charuka, Nadimal Pereira, Lakshita Suryasena, Irushi Suryasena,
Chamatkar Rathriya, where legends live again. Musical direction by the brilliant Mahesh Nenipitiya. Every note will carry the soul of a legend. Mark your calendars for the 2nd of August from 6:30 p.m. onwards at the Muses College Auditorium. Tickets via theticketsministry.com. Don't miss the most heart-touching musical event of the year. Chamatkar Rathriya.
Welcome back to Face to Face. Today our topic of discussion is the path to reconciliation in Sri Lanka, its promises, setbacks, as well as the way forward. I'm in conversation with Barath Arullsamy, who is the Vice President of International Affairs and Communications for the Democratic People's Front Tamil Progressive Alliance. Barath, getting back to a few questions that we need to definitely focus on. Now, land ownership and resettlement remain unresolved challenges in many former conflict affected areas, and especially in Sri Lanka. We are 15 years, it has been 15 years since the civil war ended in the country. How can the concept of reconciliation meaningfully progress when these fundamental issues return from time to time and rightful ownership are still in dispute?
The land rights are threefold. One, the land rights for the community. The land had been grabbed by the state during the war and the post-war in the northern east provinces. Then second, the overall land reform of our country, and coming into my community as about land rights for the people who are living in the line troops. So there are threefold. Stepping into the first issue, I saw in the recent past the government did some exercise to show that we are releasing some lands. And during President Vikram Singh's period, through Urumaya program, they have been issuing some deeds. Those who own the land in his Urumaya program. And recent past, this giving back the rightful ownership of the land to the people or the owners has become an issue. And surprisingly, the government introduced a gazette, to take over the land which has been not utilized by the people. Most of the lands been isolated by the people and who are dead. We don't know. There are some landowners maybe in, within this Chemmani victims.
The mass graves.
Right, in the mass graves. So, as a result, thanks to the ITAC and President Council Sumandiran, they did actually a legal war to force the government to withdraw the cabinet the gazette notification. So, is this the result the people expected from this government is a big question, because this land issues, land dispute, as I said earlier, or the constitutional reform, the land reform, these should be dealt in the first year of the government. As I told you, in the good governance period also, the government introduced many attractive or way forward legislations or attempts, but when there is a friction between the organizations, then it will be very difficult for the government. If they are not delivering in the first few years, then it will be very difficult in the latter years. So giving back the land which the owners of, like, that is what the people are demanding. Give back our land. So we do see, like, for security purposes, yes, the army and the tri-forces should be given a place to hold their camps to security purposes. But now there is no war among us. There is no immediate. There are threats everywhere. And this, international terrorism is there. But the governments should be equipped, to do the surveillance and risk assessment and do that. And by holding the people's land and doing vegetation in that, will not going to give any progress for our community or the country as a whole. So giving back the land as the government promised to give that should be done immediately. If we drag it and go, it will be another topic. Another topic in 5 years we will be talking about. People in that region has been deprived of their own land. They can't enter to their own houses because it has been occupied by third party. So the government should act fast by releasing this land. It is not going to affect anyone. But it's going to benefit economically. When they have their own land, they will try to enhance that land. More investment will be coming in. People will start rotating the economy within. Then it's going to be beneficial for the government. Instead, if we are going to sake of there is a threat, there is a I saw the late Joint Staff Chief of Staff Shavendra Silva. They said, hereinafter there will be no terrorism in this country. So we should accept his word and move forward. So if we are going to hellbend on hold the private land of our individual, that is not going to prevent any reconciliation part. That is not going to deliver any reconciliation part. Rather, it will create more animosity with this government as well. When it comes to the entire land reform, our land reforms after 70s are so much outdated, so much biased and so complicated. No investor will come to this land for investment purposes if we don't do any scrutinization on our land reforms. So this is a very important topic we have been highlighting in many areas, because employment reform and land reform should go hand in hand to attract investors. Now you see, when it goes to why I am always referred to India, it's a very easy comparison. India is very much friendly for investors in land reforms also. Yes, they can, a company, they are very much having a criteria to give land, but it is very flexible. Here, it's very complicated and it is outdated so far. And when it comes back to our community, the upcountry Tamil community, we are not asking, our issue and Northern East Tamil issue are very different, wherein government has taken over individuals' private land to their possession in North and East. Ours, we are in that state land for decades or centuries, but we are deprived of our economic independence. We have the right to go and buy land everywhere. Even in Colombo 7, we have the right to come and buy. But the thing is, this system has been enstrangled us by depriving our franchise and citizenship. We have been crippled for 30 years without citizenship. As a result, our economic independence has been, subjected to question. So what we are asking, whatever the places we are living in, even in the line areas, a 10 patches of land which is available for all citizens of this country, we are only marginalized where we can't go and take over land or request land. So this has become a big movement in our community, and we are requesting the government, and the government also has been promised that we will consider it, and it is a not new thing. Our party leader Mano Ganeshan, when in 2015 they have paved way to provide this land land ownership. So that is the government of the day. It's just taking it forward. So that is one important thing. And secondly, what we are focusing on, thirdly, I have talked about our land rights. And very important thing is, when we release the lands of this northern east Tamils or whoever who owns the land, that will give confidence of the government. Okay, this government is delivering. I can trust again my own state. If we are going to hold back the land which is owned by the individuals, then that is a problem. We can't talk about reconciliation anymore.
Barath, let's come back to talking about the post-war period in the country. Now, younger generations in the country, both from the north, be it north or south, any part of the country, we all grew up after the war, but there's plenty of unresolved trauma as well as mistrust in the entire system. How can reconciliation be made relevant to this younger generation? How can we get them involved? And what role does the youth play when it comes to shaping the future of the country as well as the path forward when it comes to reconciliation?
First and foremost, the younger generation, they are more keen on their growth rather than 10-20 years back about this ideological change. Now, if you go and ask young like between 16 to 20 youngster in North, are you concerned about separate state? Are you wanted a separate state or a kind of a movement? They are very much not interested at all. They want what the young girl and a boy enjoying in Colombo should be enjoyed in North also. If same thing, if you come to South and ask, do you think about, a kind of a separatism or kind of a regional based growth? He says Sri Lanka should grow. This has been, expressed through in the uprising of Aragalaya. It's very much evident the younger generations doesn't care about, this kind of an ideology. So, as younger generation, it is our responsibility, learn from the past, redesign the entire framework and move forward. This is where this analyzing the root cause of this entire downfall should be, considered very much. If we don't analyze it just in blindfold, if we go here and there, then we won't be able to, understand how things are going to work. To give a very precise example, now in plantations, younger generation does not involve in or showing interest going and working in the plantation estates. Why? One is their wages and their kind of welfare is very much minimal, and the dignity part matters the most. So when you give same kind of treatment to a Colombo grown youngster, to Nuerlia grown youngster, Jaffna grown youngster, or Matara grown youngster, this divided perception will be, washed away. Otherwise, in this younger generation also, we will think about this and talk about this, he is Tamil, he is Muslim, he is Sinhalese. This division will, create a big gap. So even I really welcome the proposal which was brought by the government for education reform. This is not a, emerged yesterday. This is a long practice since 2020. It was, under discussion, under scrutiny. I want, the major issue, we have two major languages, Tamil and Sinhalese. English is our connecting language. If Sinhalese can understand Tamil and Tamils can understand Sinhalese, I think 50% of this problem is solved, because it's all about the language emanates the emotions, right? So once the emotions are understood, all will be in the same field. So, as a younger generation, my wish and my aspiration is to understand the root cause, learn from that, and move forward. If not, it will be a never-ending story, and it will be a downfall for our country's economy. When the economy crumbles, then the entire system collapse.
Definitely. Barath, you also just now you mentioned how 50%, if, like you said, the problem might be solved if the Sinhalese can understand Tamil, Tamils can understand Sinhala, and that'll bridge the two communities very well. That brings me to my next question, which is education reforms, which is a very timely topic. Besides this language matter, how else would you suggest we incorporate the concept of reconciliation into our education system?
Very important question. See, reconciliation in education system is not only limited to few communities or some few regions. Now, take for an example, in education ministry, there is a entity called Plantation Education Unit, right? When this, I think 10-20 years back, it was a very relevant subject. But now, it has become obsolete, where it has limited the development of the plantation education. So, there are a lot of outdated practices in our system. So, even though we proudly say we have highest rate of literacy, whether the literacy is knowledgeable enough is a question. So, I did observe the President's speech in the Parliament, and the Prime Minister's statement on this reform. But what we are emphasizing on, you can't bring a reform ad hocly without having any consultations with all stakeholders. Just to have few consultants and do education reform, then it will be a big problem. So, when it comes to privatization, private education, bringing in private education to grassroots level and no one left behind is a big important problem. And also, one more challenge they are forgetting to mention, getting educated is not a problem. The poverty in the education stage is a problem. So, most of the, I saw the President, talking about, people leaving the education in the early stages. But this, because of their family's poverty, they tend to come and work in some places or go for some kind of a skilled kind of a labor jobs or minimal jobs to afford to go and study. So, what is the mechanism they are going to go for? That is another question also we have to. So, one, they have to think about this transparency, how this forum work, and how the transparency in this education reform also should be linked with this poverty. That is the major factor of dropouts. And also, when we are talking very much high about STEM education, technology, ICT, whether the remote areas, even in Mullaitivu, even in somewhere in Trincomalee, somewhere in Nuvarelia, somewhere in Mondragala, whether the remote areas have access to such digital equipment, digitalization, or we are talking about AI friendly education, digital education. So, is that school is empowered enough to at least have a smart board is a question. So, digital infrastructure should be very much concerned before talking about digitalization. So, why I talk everything together, the reconciliation in education is one important element where we can, change the mindset of the future generation. Then again, kind of give a history where people will understand why this communal harmony should grow. Now, in Bhutan, there is a happiness program in Bhutan in their syllabus. So, they always think the happiness is very important subject, or this teaching should be given to a child. So, this happiness program and kind of a technological improvement should be taught in the very first stages. But whether the political willingness is there is the question. That in both sides. I'm not talking about majority parties, but also in the minority parties as well. So the political willingness very important for educational reconciliation.
Also, Barath, the religious identity is something that has become very heavily entangled when it comes to national politics in our country. What's your take on the role of religious institutions and leaders when it comes to either advancing or even undermining reconciliation efforts?
To be very bold to your question, Sri Lanka should be a secular country. Then we have our values, you know. The Buddhist values are there, you know, and the Buddhist values are protected by our constitutions. And other religious validation is also protected by our constitution. But, you know, when it comes a kind of a supremacy to a religion, then that will create this entire concept of reconciliation into a hold, you see. Because I don't blame like it should go to one side or other side. Because this government came into power, you know, we are not, you know, a kind of a bias to a religion. We will be treat everyone equally. But when it comes to this Kaitari temple issue, then when it comes to kind of a understanding between each religions, then still that question of understanding still prevails. So, religion interference in reconciliation is very much important. When it comes to, I remember when those days, religious institution was spreading extremist ideas. So, there was, you know, now there are some examples we all know. So these extremist ideas taught by some institutions, especially in the religious institution. So is this going to serve our purpose of reconciliation or the growth of the country? Is a big question. So the religious leaders, whether it is Buddhist or Hindus or Christians or Muslims, they have a very vital role to play on this reconciliation part, not only regional level, but in the national level. So, taking religion into or weaponizing religion against a community or a country is very much brutal than spreading a false ideology, because you can easily convince a person by, you know, fear of God. So I think the religious reconciliation is very much important for everyone, and also the religious leaders have more active role to play, and also the government should deliver the promise of making this country as a secular country. But giving prominence to religions, I don't disagree. But, you know, highlighting one and, you know, minimizing the other, it's a problem.
One last question before we wrap up our program for tonight. Barath, if Sri Lanka is to truly reconcile, and here I'm not just talking about the political aspect, I'm talking about the social as well as emotional aspects. What is one change you believe must happen non-negotiably within the next 5 years of our current administration in order to make that vision a reality?
One change is the accountability. You know, the accountability means, as I told you all along, it's not, you know, pointing finger at one person. See, why we propose a constitutional change. The accountability should emerge in our supreme law, the constitution. Yes, in our articles in 26, it says it is accountability is there, you know, but in 29 it says, Article 29 says it's not mandatory. So this will pave way for corruption, for the communal disharmony, conspiracy, and other all issues pertaining to this. So to non-negotiable element for reconciliation is to establish accountability. When this accountability is established, you will win back the trust of the communities, not only in Sri Lanka, but also those who have spread across, Sri Lankans who have spread across the world, and they will have more trust towards the government. Okay, my government is unlike earlier stages. Now it is very much different and it is very progressive. Then we can, stick and proudly tell that we are Sri Lankans. Otherwise, we will be within Sri Lanka, we will be limited to our community identity, and within international forums, we will be hardly identifying we as Sri Lankans. So, to come as Sri Lankans together, you and I and all citizens, they should feel that highlighting their identity as Sri Lankans together rather than their community, the action is very much vocal than just mere words or sentences. So, this entire reconciliation based on actions, so the action based on the accountability.
Well, that brings us to an end in tonight's conversation. Reconciliation is not just a destination. It is a process that demands political will, institutional honesty, and even everyday courage. And as we've heard this evening, the road ahead is very complex, but that does not mean achieving reconciliation is impossible in our country as long as we are willing to confront the past and take action accordingly, just like Barath mentioned right throughout. It's a matter of accountability, accepting what has happened and moving forward. Thank you very much, Barath, for sitting down with me for this very important conversation.
Thank you very much for having me here.
And thank you, dear viewer, for joining us this evening. This has been Face to Face. Take care. Good night.
TV1. TV for life.
President emphasizes commitment to working with Maldives for a peaceful and prosperous Indian Ocean region. Tessa Kuttiarachchi unconditionally apologizes to President Anura in court for statement regarding money in Malta. Comprehensive investigation into the deaths of Yatinura Pradeshya Sabha opposition leader, his wife and daughter. Deshabandhu seeks court order to prevent arrest in connection with attack on Aragalaya protesters. American response to tariff discussions expected by the 1st of August.
TV1. TV for life.
චමත්කාර රාත්‍රිය අගෝස්තු 2 වෙනිදා සවස 6:30ට අගනුවර මියුසියස් විද්‍යාලය රංගශාලාවේදී ප්‍රවේශ පත්‍ර ticketsministry.com.
GDP around $30,000 billions, 30,000, but in Sri Lankan context we are just only 80 billions.
And one of the economic principle also say, with the trade, everybody better off.
Now, why he has reduced 44 to 30? That's what my point is all about, right? He's not playing kind of a trade game with us.
Now only the government, we are seeing that the provincial council election has completed and the people are appointed, but now only the infrastructure projects are being, the money is being deployed.
Face the Nation every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. on TV1.